It tells me it's time to begin. It's 4:30. We'll go ahead and start the Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting for Thursday, June 13th, 2024, with a roll call. I am Matt McGrath. I am here. Jonathan? Here. Nancy?
Here.
Alexis? Jody?
Here.
Ron? Here. Anybody general business, any announcements from members of the committee or staff? No, nothing exciting yet?
Wow.
Okay.
Official.
Nothing that rises to the level of official announcement. Public comment. Only person online is Officer Turley. Did we get any other comments about public comment?
No.
All right. Move on to approval of minutes from the March 14th meeting, which were sent out with the agenda. If folks had a chance to review, any discussion or comments on the minutes? Otherwise, potentially a motion.
Motion, we approve the
All right, thanks, Ron. Second.
minutes.
Jody, thank you very much. It's been motioned and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor of minute approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Minutes passed unanimously. Moving into lingering old business. Butler Avenue.
Yeah, I'll call up. I got a little PowerPoint. I think we covered this pretty well in at the March meeting.
We did. So
I was gonna show you. I don't think I showed you. This photo was this.
Sleep.
Oh. Oh, I need to share. That's why. Something. There it is. This was kind of one of these artist rendition things that was probably done, I want to say 10 or 15 years ago as part of Mountain Line's 5-year.
That's pretty good.
It's actually.
Where is this? I want to go hang out here.
Yeah.
Trailer rocks. Gotta go.
Maybe after the meeting we'll reconvene there.
Okay.
Trailer.
Yeah, so that's all I really had since we covered this. I don't know if the last time we met, we have the final concept plan report. We've been working with Federal Highways on a grant agreement between the city and the U.S. Department of Transportation. That's all been hammered out. It's going to council next week on the 18th for approval. And then I think as soon as we have the contract in place, like we're good to start spending money and we can get into the project in earnest. I think the first thing that will happen is we'll go out, we'll do a request for qualifications or RSOQ for a designer, basically. And we need to follow not only the city's procurement process, but also federal requirements to do that. So already, I mean, I think, you know, these grant awards are public. We get requests for information or to talk to us or, you know, to find out what's going on from consultants on a pretty regular basis. So
That's what we do.
it's what they do, right? I think the smart ones anyway.
Fish with the fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a pretty nice project. I think on the basis of having done that concept plan, we're really pretty pleased at how everything has worked out and how everything that's like we ran into surprisingly few technical issues really that have to be resolved. I'm sure more will pop up as we get into.
Seem to be some narrow spots there, I know.
Yeah, there's a couple narrow spots, really probably fewer than I would have expected.
Good.
You know, given the existing corridor. Probably some of the utility relocates might be a little bit challenging, the stormwater ones.
Yeah. We've, based on concept planning, we've seen that right-of-way acquisitions that are necessary are pretty minimal as well. Very nice, just to, two small triangles. And they also provided options for us to, be able to work around them. So
Yeah. So far, it's going really well. Keep going. We don't have any kind of date for construction, or anything like that, but I think we'll start to work through some of those details in the next few years, I guess. And that's all I really have for that one.
See you at the Trail and Rock after the meeting. Like this. Moving on to new business, letter of support for the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program. Not always a fan of acronyms, but that's a lot of syllables, so I'm gonna go with the acronym.
ATIP. All right, Martin, was there any materials provided related to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was?
Yeah.
Oh, the links.
Okay.
Okay, the links, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Cause I'm like, oh, what is this?
Does that work okay? Otherwise, the alternative is,
Yeah,
you get a 75-page.
nope, that's,
No, I looked at the summary.
Packet
Yeah, the
or-
map. Plus it has a
No,
map.
The-
Good.
The
Yeah.
email will include 27 different attachments.
yes, no, that works great. I was thinking of a different meeting. Where I get 27 different attachments. I'm like, where are my attachments? Okay,
sure. Well, we'll just go through this quick. So the lion's share of my workload in the last couple of weeks has been putting together an application for preliminary planning and design of a new bikeway foots trail project. It's going to be, and we've talked about the components before. It's the Milton Bikeway, which you may be familiar with. The Santa Fe Foots Trail extension, which we can take a look at here in a second, and a ped bike overpass of Milton Road near the Jack in the Box. That would go from the west side across to NAU campus. So what you can see here, this is our existing active transportation network. What's in green is foots trails, and what's in blue is bikeways that aren't just like a shared lane marking. Basically, there is a separated in one sense or another facility for bikes. And then the ATIP project is, oh, come on. I'm very snappy. There we go. The ATIP project is here in yellow. So we have the Milton Bikeway. It goes from Lake Mary Road up to two projects that will be underway shortly with the Downtown Connection Center will create an underpass of the BNSF Railroad. And then the Rio de Flag realignment project will turn the current culvert that the Rio flows underneath Route 66 into a ped bike underpass as well. So it'll be fully separated access to and from like across these two major barriers here. And then we're looking to capitalize on those projects and route the Milton Bikeway through them, create an entirely, well, mostly fully separated, comfortable bike facility to use the Milton corridor to commute for commuters. Additionally, this is the current extent of the existing Santa Fe Foots Trail. As you can see, there's not a lot of options for people who live in these neighborhoods to be able to get to the downtown area outside of using West Route 66, which really doesn't have adequate facilities. So yeah, this proposed extension provides exactly that. And the crown in the middle is a ped bike overpass that would go just over the north end of the Jack in the Box property, which is, definitely going to present some challenges. But that's the purpose of going for preliminary planning and design funding. So we're looking for, I think that the total grant is for $509,000. It was supposed to be due on Monday, but then so it's very, very close to being done with, all of its iterations and review. But today we found out that the deadline was extended by a month. So now I have until July to get it where it needs to be.
And the pressure's on, sorry, the pressure's off you. You were gonna have to sign a letter tonight.
let's put it in front of me.
Now we have, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, just to let you guys know how the project has gone so far, we've gotten a lot, I think that we're up to 9 letters of support from different stakeholders, a congressional letter of support, ADOT, the La Plaza Vieja neighborhood, contributed as well. And I'm happy with this extension because, I'm looking to get one from the South Side Community Association as well. They've done that for us in the past, and it would be helpful to have theirs because we talk about them a lot in the grant. We're also looking to coordinate with NAU a bit more with this added time. We've had some conversations, but it's been fairly limited. And yeah, so that's the gist of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have related to it. And we would greatly appreciate a letter of support from the PAC to bolster our application.
Chris provided a draft letter of support in the packet, but if there's anything you would like specifically said in the letter, just let us know and we can include that. And then since we probably need to have it before the next meeting, even though we have a month, if you're happy with the draft, generally you can kind of approve it in concept and authorize the chair to sign it when the final version is done.
Questions about the project proposal?
Any way to get it built this summer? Just, this is awesome.
That's one thing I hate seeing these maps.
Yeah.
I just wish it was
That's how they start.
now. It is, but I just wish like that would be wonderful.
Yeah, no, we're hopeful, but the big angle of applying to these concept plans is a lot of grant applications. Part of the criteria to apply for construction funding is you have to have these feasibility considerations in place. So it gives us a really good jumping off point. Like this should be fairly quick turnover, maybe within, 2 years, we could have our the final product of this, and we can take that to apply for another grant opportunity to build some or all of these components.
And some of these grants are kind of set up so they allow you to do it in phases. Like a first phase is planning, kind of concept planning. Then the second phase might be engineering, and the third phase might be construction, or they might combine those last 2 phases. But you kind of have your foot in the door with the grant program once you get the first grant for planning it.
And what's the funding source? Is this a fixed
This,
federal program of some sort? Or
yeah, these are all coming from the
is it the infrastructure bill?
infrastructure
Okay.
bill. Yeah, this is kind of, we've seen a number of grants. The Safe Streets for All grant, for example,
Yeah.
was from that same source, or transportation alternative grants. This is kind of the last one.
Okay,
Really, this one is not very well funded. There
that's gonna be my next question. The likelihood.
It's a good question.
Branding, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
First, you don't know unless you try, right?
Yeah, that's a big component of it.
Okay.
For FY 23, there's $45.5 million available.
Okay.
Our grant request is for $509,000. And you can apply for construction dollars through this grant as well. There's some compared to other grants, there is some kind of funky just rules associated with it, as far as like they want you to have if you're gonna build with it, you have to have a $15 million project. They have $45 million to give away, so they want to give like $2 million to a lot of big projects in that sense, not fund one person's whole thing necessarily. And then there's $3 million that at least $3 million have to be spent for planning and design projects. They can spend as much as they
Okay,
want, as
so
long
that's
as,
what
yeah,
this is.
with certain considerations.
Yeah.
We'll see. And
More.
yeah, and they also extended the deadline, which could be an indicator of
Yeah,
a
maybe they're not
couple few
getting enough
things.
interest, yeah. That would be a shame if not any other people applied.
Yeah.
Or not too many, yeah.
Yeah, we're just, this one, because it's new, we don't know.
I think that's great.
You think about $44.5 million, but divide that. If everybody asks for $1 million, that's only 44 grants awarded nationwide.
Yeah.
Ours is $500,000, so there could only be 88 grants like
Yeah,
that.
We
why
have,
not us?
we've been coordinating with Metro Plan to just get input on this. They have some very talented grant writers, and we've had some back and forth, and it's a very strong application based on their criteria. Yeah, so like we're all feeling very good about it, so we'll see. I mean, if it's meant to
Yeah.
be, it'll happen, and if not, the work is in place for us to pursue another
The next
opportunity,
opportunity.
yeah.
Some of the criteria are equity and connectivity, and when you think about La Plaza Vieja, in their specific plan for the neighborhood plan, they reference how, beginning with the railroad, and then later on Milton and 66 have really cut off that neighborhood from good
Yeah.
head access. The railroad, of course, there are no places to cross, although that has not stopped people. I know there are two very well-known crossings just north of that neighborhood. And then, ped and bike access across Milton and Route 66 is challenging, so.
To say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. So this really, at a very small scale, this really helps that neighborhood get better access, as well as everything that's to the west.
Yeah, and another consideration as far as connectivity goes is like, as you can see on the screen, there's our active transportation network, and we have pretty solid corridors coming into downtown from the north and from the east. But you can see there's a pretty significant gap in the west and the south.
Yeah, I live in.
And then if you turn this on, it's like, oh, wow, there it is.
West is great, but if there's snow, you can't really.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
That's another consideration for sure. And this also capitalizes, we went through this in the northern portion of the Milton Bikeway, takes advantage of a few ongoing projects. And it does the same thing here near Target. And this is the University Realignment Project, where there's going to be a pedestrian underpass
Yeah.
that we're hoping to route through. Part of the feasibility study. See what our options are through that area.
Chris, you mentioned limited conversations with NAU. Can you share like the context of that? Are they generally supportive of stuff like this? I would assume they are, but once you get a bureaucracy involved, you never know.
We kind of brought these plans to them, but it's probably been some preliminary planning for the Milton one along the side of their campus, but it's probably been 4 or 5 years. So some of the people are still there, and we've reached out to them, but there's some new people like in capital and facilities. So we have kind of begun that process of reaching out to them with a month additional deadline. We'll probably schedule a meeting and get it back on their radar. I don't know if you're aware, but NAU bought that property that used to be the old Chinese buffet and the
Yeah,
pawn
that's what
shop.
it looks like it goes through. Yeah.
And it does. And that eventually that's gonna be a fourth leg of that intersection. Which is not gonna improve traffic flow, by the way, but that's a different story. But that's a way into campus. And they were planning a roadway that kind of went in and then bent down,
Comes out.
and then tied into the corner of Reardon and Reardon Ranch, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Bring the map up and we can see.
Here, if it's all right, I'm gonna switch the screen so it's a little bit closer to us.
It's essentially that yellow line.
That's one of my routes when I come up from the south.
Yeah.
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 So you can see where 66 comes into Milton.
Mhm.
And that kind of that soft corner.
Great.
Yeah.
So imagine the fourth corner going through that parking lot that used to be, or that vacant lot that used to be the pawn shop, and then tying into that yellow line. And that yellow line becomes a street that goes all the way down to Reardon. Anyway, the NAU had done some preliminary planning for that street. I don't know if they had funding or if it was, just to do the exercise. But part of it was they accommodated the bikeway, pedway along the side of it because they knew that was part of the
You're
plan.
thinking about it. So that's,
Yeah.
that could be some potential pushback. If
Yeah.
it got in their way, but
Part of it, if you look where that road is, it goes through one of their parking lots. And then that white roof that's right alongside the yellow line is Roseberry Hall.
okay.
Which I think the road couldn't go around it. That would have to be demolished. The Foots Bikeway could go around it without having, but then we go through the parking lot, so they end up losing a few parking spaces.
Do they have like a master plan?
Or
Yes, they recently did a master.
That
plan.
includes the road.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's usually a good tell on
Yeah,
whether,
that's a good,
whether they're thinking, yeah.
Yeah,
good point.
Although it changes, but it's at that point in time, that's what they wanted to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, this would be a great benefit. They recognize that.
That's what I was thinking, like, what's the downside? Well, if they're gonna, do something there. But yeah, it helps their students and it doesn't cost them any money, so that's, I mean, there's not a lot of downsides to that.
Is that worth, 14 parking spaces or whatever?
Yes, don't talk to the parking man.
And yeah, I guess just one other interesting aspect that makes me feel good about the strength of our application is, big component is they want to hear about the other investments that your city is making into the active transportation network. And there's a lot to talk about right now. With, especially in this area, the downtown mile projects, there's going to be the Florence Walnut connection through, this area. These underpasses are separate from the project, that we're just capitalizing on them really. There's going to be, I think, 10-foot sidewalks built on both sides of Route 66 through this area. And this intersection is getting fully reconfigured as well. The train grade crossings are going to be rebuilt through the downtown mile project. And also our SS4A Butler Avenue Complete Street project. This routes through the existing RFB. And that RFB is going to get enhancements through that, through SS4A as well. So this is one of the only at-grade arterial crossings on the Milton Bikeway, but it routes through something that is an RFB and is going to receive, considerable improvements as well to improve safety and visibility.
And if you could pan back up a little bit, Chris, to show like the downtown. So you mentioned there's the Rio project and the downtown mile are putting underpasses under 66 and the railroad tracks right there. So where that yellow line ends, the Foots Trail picks up and becomes the Karen Cooper Trail and goes past, like literally right behind us here, past the library. And the Karen Cooper Trail that goes through Townside neighborhood will become paved. And if you're familiar with the Rio plans, becomes more of a greenway with a small channel.
Nice.
Yeah, so that gives you continuous north-south connectivity on that side of downtown, which would allow somebody like going through that area to completely miss the railroad tracks, Beaver, San Francisco, all of that. For us at City Hall, it would make it really easy to go to Fratelli's for lunch. Or Mother Road after.
Punched out.
Yeah.
What's that place?
I would say
Rocket Trail.
Heard that place.
So
Wherever that
that was really the,
I'm right on around south side.
that kind of makes the whole thing work,
Yeah.
north-south connectivity perspective. Although you can see that line gets a little bit squirrely. We're doing the best we can with existing things. But part of the study will kind of look at that and see are there other options or other things other ways we could do that. And I want to point out that that crossing at Humphreys has been there for a number of years. And one of the reasons that we put it there is literally in anticipation of this plan going through.
This one, Martin?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
there's a reason that part of it was the High Country Conference Center, but part of it was this connectivity. And then where the yellow line makes that abrupt right on campus next to the parking garage, the continuation of that yellow line south is the main bikeway through campus. So those things line up, yeah.
Yeah. This is my route
Yeah,
until the Milton Bikeway is built.
It's like a better way.
yeah, or whenever school's not in session.
Yeah, tell me.
Smart.
Any other questions or discussion items?
Seems great.
The letter.
Mhm.
Has a paragraph from the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Or kind of addressing bicycle concerns. Is this grant primarily for bicycles or is this project?
In a way it is. I mean, I
Okay.
think when we think about like long-term connectivity, like somebody getting from University Heights, for example, which this would help. Like bike would likely be your mode just because of the number of miles. But I think at a local level, like it will benefit pedestrians
For sure.
on that part of campus, getting across Milton, getting into downtown. So while it kind of, the overall length of it supports cycling longer distances, but we would definitely make sure that it were accessible, providing ramps, providing pedestrian accommodation as well.
Just the language of the letter said, as the Bicycle Advisory Committee of the City of Flagstaff.
I think we would change that, right?
We did that last week. Yeah,
That's like-
just
oh,
didn't update it.
Yeah,
sorry.
that blue text, I think. is what
We actually
I
have a-
Suggest.
Yeah,
We have a version that is less bicycle advisory committee oriented. That
I
would
mean,
be-
it should be
Yeah.
bicycle oriented, but
Yeah.
throw us in
For
there
that.
as well, maybe?
Well, I assume the
You can add
Bicycle
your.
Advisory Committee is signing that letter. We would change it to
Yes.
reflect
Got it.
pedestrian
Okay,
core values.
got it.
But in looking at it, I think the rest of the letter is pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
just facts and data that apply to the project. So
Yes,
I'm comfortable with the letter. If we could just,
it's great.
if folks were comfortable with Martin and I just changing that blue text to be more pedestrian-y.
And maybe throw in
I
a little-
included myself, even though,
my input would be just
You're just the signer.
throw in a little bit more about safety because that overpass over Milton is huge.
Mhm.
Cause I use Riordan to kind of get to Sprouts and I see these poor pedestrians trying to navigate that.
Absolutely.
And there are many cars that don't respect them at all.
Mhm.
And they have lights and everything, but yeah. So safety wise, that overpass is huge.
I think we found in like the pedestrian bicycle crash data, we found that.
That's one of the
Have been
deadliest intersections.
increases that in Reardon and Milton, right in that area.
Yep.
I'm guessing part of it is the student housing.
It
Yeah.
is. It's tons of students coming to class and then going home.
What that underpass?
It's a little, that's gonna be a little south
Yeah,
to all
It-
those gigantic
yeah.
student.
the other ones, yeah,
Development.
especially up off of 66.
Yeah, there's a heavy concentration of students, especially that come out of this building here.
Yes.
And if they can be motivated, like now, as of now, they walk down West Route 66, and I believe that they're able to cross out on one leg of this intersection.
Or down Reardon.
They cross at Reardon a lot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's the intersection I'm talking about. And I know the overpass is north of that, but if there's an overpass, it's a game changer for.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough intersection for them to navigate.
So our action item would be approve letter of support if anyone was interested in such a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we make a letter of support for this project as to be finalized by Martin and Matt.
And Chris.
I second the motion.
Excellent. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
always get overly excited at our meetings. I just dream of the future.
Something's starting to happen.
Yep.
Look at the
Oh, yeah.
Driving Hills master plan.
Mhm.
I was up riding there today. It's
Yep.
working. Yeah.
Next item, PAC appointments and reappointments.
Yeah, just a couple of things.
Long-term incumbent vacancies.
Yeah, so here's kind of the status of things. John, you were reappointed at Transportation Commission last week. So you are good to go until July
Good news
twenty
and the bad
twenty-six.
news.
Good news, bad news. We have one kind of long-standing vacancy. As we're aware. I'm sorry.
My
Jody.
last meeting, or is it next one?
Gonna be escorted out.
Turn in your badge. Bring your footwear, I guess.
Yeah.
Just for context, do you mind if I share this? Like Jody was a longstanding member of the bike advisory committee, and she termed out.
Yeah.
And, you were more than willing, but we really wanted to keep you around, so you were interested in pedestrian, so that really worked out well. And I can't believe it's been like that is how long it's been.
Susan Heffley, she was the one who said that I should go and join this thing when I moved to town, and
Yeah.
so she's to blame for all of this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm suggesting that, you go back to bike advisory committee now. That seems to be the pattern for 6 more years.
Is that allowable?
Yes, of course it is.
Governor of California did it. Yeah, he was a governor for, I think, 1 term, and he came back for 2 more.
It's about the same thing, I'd say.
It's, he was good, so I think the pattern has been established.
So you don't have to leave right away in January or in June, in July. You can, whatever it is, you can stay until you get a replacement for you, even though you're termed out.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Sometimes we've slowed walked that process.
When
So
is
we're
the
not-
July
we're not
meeting?
above
I
doing
should
that.
check and see, I'm gonna be out of town a fair amount of July, but I might be here for the meeting date anyway. Anyway, thank you. That's good to know. I will miss this.
And then we'll speak freely. We've not seen Alexis for a while. It's not actually heard from her for a while. So I reached out to find out, because sometimes things, people's jobs change. They get family, whatever it is. That's okay, but I just want to find out kind of where if she's still interested or if it's going to be a vacancy, because that would be 3 vacancies coming up.
So have you asked her, contacted her?
I reached out by email a few days ago and haven't heard anything, so I think I'll try to give her a call.
Okay.
Find out. We currently have,
Quorum filler for a couple of months, if I'm allowed to be a quorum filler, just until you get tided over or whatever.
Yes,
I'd certainly
would
happy
appreciate
to
it.
do that.
Yes.
yeah, it's okay for you to stay on until we
Yeah, that'd be
you have a
great.
replacement.
Yeah.
So we have 5 applications that are essentially current with PAC, which is a considerable amount. I mean, a couple of years ago, we rarely had extra applications of people waiting to get on. 2 of them are older than a year, and I believe that they're valid for a year. So I think in compliance with her clerk's policies, we'll reach out to those 2 people, and if they are still want to be considered, we'll have them resubmit an application. So it's less than a year. The other 3 applied this year, so they all should be good. Now, recently we had not a dissimilar situation with the bike advisory committee. They had 3 people that were terming out all at once. And another vacancy coming up, and we had a handful of applications. Do you remember how many? 7 or 8?
Yeah, I think
altogether?
I think it was about that.
And appointments are made by the Transportation Commission rather than a typical commission. We're subcommittees of the Transportation Commission. Commission appointments are made by council, and they follow their own process for reviewing them and that sort of thing. Our 2 committees have much more leeway, and we're below the radar of the council in that respect. So the appointments are made by Transportation Commission. Typically in the past, we've just generally done applications chronologically. So if there's a vacancy, we'll look at the oldest application. And they seem reasonable and they're still interested, they would get appointed. Bike Advisory Committee was interested in being kind of more proactive in reviewing those applications for the vacancies that they had. So they went through a little process, and actually 3 members met that Chris helped set up and ranked the application, essentially gave that recommendation to the Transportation Commission. At the meeting last week, We asked the Transportation Commission, is this helpful for you? What can we do? What do you want to see in applications? They gave us no feedback really at all.
Oh my God.
So I think that reinforces that we have a lot of leeway in how we want to go about this. So we bring all this up because we have more applications, we have vacancies, we have a few vacancies coming up. If you want to consider having such a process, we're more than happy to help you facilitate that, to take a look at the applications, see, who seems like a good candidate. Should we call up the process from last
The
time?
rubric.
Yeah, would that be interesting?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea,
Okay, give me just a
with
moment.
multiple vacancies and multiple applicants.
Kind of a luxury.
Before we get into it, I'll tell you the one trick was, like the things they wanted to rate people on really weren't asked in the application, so it was kind of.
Subjective, yeah.
Yeah, we're rating you on something that we didn't ask you to answer, which is,
That's
Real
kinda-
hiring, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
From my days. And I used to ask HR, so they'd be like, yeah, you can't do that.
you ask them, what?
I'm like, you did what?
So how many are here? 7? And then they gave each one a weight. And they were scored 1 to 5.
I'm just remembering, anyway, sorry, this is. I really don't enjoy bicycling. It's just better than driving. And so I was thinking I probably should put that on my application, that I don't really like it.
There's no passion, no love.
Way better than driving.
Well, I mean, that's one of those, passion and love, either they put it in their application or they didn't,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah,
everyone.
it comes through,
We
yeah.
didn't ask them about
Yeah.
that specific.
I would assume if they're applying to be on a bicycle committee, they have some kind of love.
Yeah, they're not getting paid, they're just like, yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of.
you'd be surprised, but yes, generally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless young people trying to build their resume, like, it would look good.
And then, similarly, an emphasis on safety, we didn't ask about, is not part of the application or the environment. Diversity is, there's a question on the application that says, how do you add to the diversity?
Yeah, I think that's consistent with the way the city does stuff too.
Yeah.
So I think that's,
That gives us a hint. We also, in the case of BAC, gender is a form of diversity. They try to judge what type of cyclist they are. Are they a commuter? Are they more recreational? There's some nuances there that may not translate to the pedestrian realm.
are you a fast walker? Are you a runner? Could be,
Do you run, or do you walk to work?
Yeah, right.
Commuting, do you walk to the
Yeah.
grocery store?
Yeah.
This is just an example. I mean, you could.
Did they find it helpful?
If they did, they didn't tell us that. They
Yeah.
made no indication.
Do you mean BAC, the
Kind of
subcommittee?
both. I mean, I
Yeah.
assume Transportation Commission seems like both committees are sort of a headache to them.
One more thing they gotta do.
Like all these people. But yeah, like if the back folks who went through this, did it seem like they thought it was helpful?
I think it gave a method to the subcommittee meeting that we had where otherwise we may not have had one, it provided a source of direction. And ultimately, I think we reviewed 7 applications. We had 3 vacancies that we were looking to fill, so we selected our top 3 based on scoring. And then we elected the 3 that were 2 that were below the top 3 to be held onto as alternates. And everybody kind of approved that, if it's these people, that's fine too. And that was definitely to our benefit because 2 of our top people ended up declining.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, to stay on, or to join. So we had two people waiting in the wings. They both wanted to be a part of it, and, you know, it all worked out.
We could do that. We could do that process ahead of time. Like if we ask the two whose applications are older than a year, if they want to reapply, then we know that they're current.
Actively interested.
Yeah, and the three that are more recent, we could ask the same thing even before we go into the process.
Yeah, that would probably be something to do
Yeah,
different.
maybe we'll end up with 3 and then we'll be okay.
Yeah, should be easy enough.
We're a process that yields just like, are they somebody that would do well on the committee or not,
Yeah.
you know? And I think the or not would be a hard one to end up in, but
Right.
maybe they can't do it or, you know, they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm gonna be gone for 6 months. That'd be somebody like me, like, yeah, I'm never there, like. But yeah, I mean, just go, no go.
Yeah, who knows? Some of the responses on the application, it could just be like one sentence or something. And you
Yeah.
get a hint that they're probably not gonna do all that well.
Are the applications pretty set in stone for future?
I mean, what's on the app, what
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, just, if the application isn't giving us information that would be useful, I know that this time around, everybody's filled out their applications, but for future people, is there a chance to change any of the questions or?
There is, but the city's application for boards and commissions wouldn't change. Like that stays the same. However, part of our leeway is we could send out a different questionnaire and ask
Yes.
specific things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what you have to, and we could do interviews even, like we could have people come in and we could have an interview process. So I think the question you have to ask is, like, how much do you want to put somebody through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, wait a second, yeah.
Yeah, volunteer committee, yeah,
You know, obviously.
right.
Yeah.
Especially if they will show up, willing to show up.
Yeah, I think that was my number one question, be like, we have a hard time getting quorums.
Yeah.
Can you do this, you know?
Yeah, right.
In a nice way, but yeah, like, and Zoom is an option or, online meeting, so you can make that work, but.
Have you had ones that you feel like have been a bad fit, Martin,
Oh,
where,
yes.
okay, then that means that it could be,
It's good, you're.
it could be worth doing a little bit of effort.
I'll add to that. Not necessarily a bad fit. I mean, there have been people who are appointed that we've like never seen, or seen like once in a meeting and then we haven't seen again. And like, they just, for whatever reason, they just stop showing up. And it always takes a few months to suss that out. Like first you have to notice a pattern. They're not coming or they're not responsive to emails. And then figure out, is there something going on? Are they still interested? In theory, the Transportation Commission can remove anybody after 3 absences. We haven't really done that, but the Transportation Commission meets every 2 months. So if you're trying to do something quickly, it may not work. I think, beyond that, there've been a couple people who have a particular axe to grind or
I could see
something
that.
like, one issue that they're interested in. Yeah, but generally people have been pretty good.
Sometimes the axe to grind people, they're bringing a perspective in.
Yeah.
Maybe disruptive to conducting business, but at least you're like, okay, that this is an issue with them, and if it's pedestrian related, it's not fun for you, but it's somewhat valid.
And I've generally tried to reach out to applicants before they're appointed and just have a conversation with them, kind of find out where they are.
That's probably good.
That gives you a chance to get like a little bit more in depth about like why they want to be in the committee, how they think about walking, pedestrian issues. And in the past, we have tried to, I might have told you this before, but we've tried to make sure there's like a gender balance on our committees. That PAC has never been an issue that way. It's always been pretty balanced. BAC could be, like, if you look at sometimes the pool of applicants skews heavily male. And you could, if you're not careful about how you make appointments, the committee could skew heavily male. And that's at least one way that we can kind of have that level of diversity.
So I'm skeptical that something like this would work based on the form that you fill out online.
The city's application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
city's application, but I am kind of intrigued by a very simple supplemental,
Take a look at them.
like asking these questions, like.
I'm really skeptical about this too. I mean, a lot of subjective.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but like, say we took these questions, like these criteria or whatever, and just said, hey, can you describe
Yeah.
your experience or your interest as a pedestrian, or, and a very obvious, you know, why,
Yeah.
why you want to is on that city's thing, but, you know, what safety issues are you particularly interested in focusing on in this area? I think would be maybe more insightful than that form. And I do, Ron, ultimately agree with you. Question number one is, hey, are you willing to show
Yeah,
up?
right, it's practically
Like, right,
speaking.
that's been an
it's
issue,
important.
that's been an
Yeah.
issue for us, because of our core group, and then if one of us just is, you know, you usually tease me by calling in for the back of your
Hey,
van,
I'd like
which
to
mostly
be
just makes me jealous.
Don't
Or
like.
like if two of us are on vacation, then we can't have a meeting.
Yeah, it seems unfair, like you're coming from work and you have to go to work after that. He's in the back.
I'm like,
Someplace cool. He's not in the parking lot of Walmart.
yeah, no, next month I would be, yeah.
So if we did that, say we had like a very simple a few supplemental questions, would that have to be approved by the Transportation Commission, or could we just do that, use that on our own to make recommendations to the Transportation Commission for their appointments?
I think we would inform the Transportation Commission, but I don't know that you need their permission to do that.
Okay,
I mean, ultimately, they're the ones who make the appointment. They could accept or reject your
yeah,
recommendations.
Yeah.
What you come up with is only a recommendation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
But it seems like, or they're just going to appoint the person who applied first, because that's who we brought to them, which doesn't, maybe that is the best person, but it's very arbitrary, so I think just asking folks. I don't know, what other folks, I kind of like the idea of a simple.
Yeah, I like
few supplemental questions, just,
And if it's gonna be something that wasn't on the application, then
yeah,
give them the opportunity to answer it in a simple, efficient way. So we don't create more work for you guys
yeah,
or for the applicants. I mean, at some point, like, wait a second.
yeah.
I'm willing to help, but I'm not gonna jump through a bunch of hoops.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like,
it was the
yeah,
kind of thing
I
that took
don't
them
wanna
like
do it.
15
Yeah.
minutes.
Right, yeah, something quick.
Yeah, not
Efficient.
a big thing, not bringing hauling them in for an interview and a second interview, which I have
Yeah.
done for volunteer things in the past. Maybe they were uncertain on me after the first one. They're like, I don't know, we really need somebody, but this guy.
They're like,
I mean, without seeing the applications, it's hard to know, but like, do we need to even add anything else to this? We could just look at the applications.
That's true.
Well, these.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
you had them
Not gonna make it,
minutes at one point. I poked through them and I was like, oh yeah, and in my mind, I was kind of like, this person seems good, or, you know, there's something, yeah, I kind of formed a little list in my mind.
Could we just get a few members together and go through the applications?
Or could
Have it
we,
ranked through that?
can you send all the applications out to all of us? And then we have an action item at
There you go.
next meeting or the meeting after that. And all of us just review them individually if you have time. If you don't, that's okay. And we can just, that's probably, I think, like, it's been a while since I filled one of those out, but I think like the last question is kind of general, hey, or one of them is like, why do you want to do this? There may be enough nuggets in there.
Yeah.
That's
Right,
I feel like.
I
certain,
got-
like if somebody seems
I was
really
trying to
interested.
add that in there, like, oh,
Yeah.
I see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I just had to fill one out like last month.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
reapply.
Yep.
And yeah, it reminded me of why I'm here. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
It's all the same stuff. I just copy and pasted from the last time, but.
So we can do that.
So can you verify the existing applicants that they're still interested, or the expired ones? And if you send them out, I'll look at them and have an action item to discuss and potentially rank for Transportation Commission consideration.
That timing works out well because the Transportation Commission is meeting in August again.
Okay.
So if we meet in July, that would be.
Yeah.
Good timing, yeah.
Or we could, I hate looking at applications and not having criteria to go by. Do we have it seems like commitment is high
Right, that's a.
importance to this group. Are there any other things that we can say, this is what we're looking at? Commitment, pedestrian experience.
Perspectives that we might be missing. I feel like there's some
Yeah,
things that we,
diversity.
yeah, that kids, an interest in getting kids, I feel like walking or biking or whatever. I feel like it's often not having kids. I just tend to not have that great thing going with it mentally, and I feel like that's often a,
Martin, is there any chance we could look at a blank?
I'd say the question
application,
maybe.
just to see what we're going off of?
Yeah, if we have in our mind as we're looking at these applications, these things, then there's the at least appearance of fairness. You know what I mean? We're not looking at our own it's more objective versus
Yeah.
subjective, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Person's biases
Yeah,
mitigate, so.
I'm curious about the years living in Flagstaff, which way that would go for. Is it better having a fresh new face with someone
Yeah.
who's excited and not yet
yeah.
down by Burlington Northern?
I don't personally see that that would be an important criteria. Cause I think if they come from another city where they've done.
Right, yeah, it would-
something
it could be a
totally
plus,
new and different,
yeah.
it may be
Yeah.
a real plus.
The chief of police. He's from Phoenix, right?
Yeah. Yeah, number of years in the Flagstaff area, that's one of the questions.
I seem to remember the questions were pretty good.
Yeah.
I think
I get the
they are.
sense it's like,
They probably are for us, but like for love of bicycling, there's
yeah,
no way
they
to
just,
fill that
you
out,
can
but,
inject that
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
but also like, yeah, do you like walking? Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
human, that's
I mean,
like.
You don't mention that, like, yeah.
You're like, I got you lost in front of the.
Yeah. How close do you insist on parking? Do you circle
There
the
you go.
parking lot 6 times to get a closer spot? We don't want you.
You're out.
Sorry, trick question.
So here we are.
That's about paid parking. Do you support paid parking? If they say no, they're out.
Just a couple of hot buttons.
Uh-huh.
You can-
Yeah, okay, so these questions, you know.
Yeah, I
And it really,
I think those, yeah,
like how much people write varies considerably.
that's,
Right.
that's true even on the resume.
But it is a pedestrian advisory committee, clearly safety is gonna be an issue and pedestrian, you know, so if you can't include that in there, then.
Yeah, that's how we kind of began. If you want, I think it's unreasonable, like I can reach out to them, because we were going to anyway, to find out if they're still active. To ask them to answer a couple other questions, of your choosing. I think
Now that
I
we
think that's
brought this
feasible.
up, I don't, I mean, this
Yeah.
I
probably
think it's,
captures, and it worked for John, who just had to fill it out. So hindsight, I would say, I think
Okay.
these questions are probably,
Yeah, I think they
probably
have,
work.
yeah.
So if you could just verify the applications and send them out to us.
The only other
Cross it
question
off
I would
that
say,
item, sorry.
commitment, you know, is there anything keeping you from showing up once a month?
Yeah, because that is part of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What helped me a lot, Martin, is when you sent out the whole year's worth of dates.
yes, and
That was huge.
I think we make a Teams calendar invitation too that's shared by
Right.
all of you. So I don't know how that, works with.
Mine went out this morning while I was out biking.
That you don't do teams.
I don't,
What am I supposed to do?
It sounds fantastic.
I'm retired.
I'm sentenced to a
I'm
life
sorry,
of teams.
so sorry.
Yes.
I overdosed on Zoom during the
Yeah.
pandemic, so I'm done.
Is that, when a Teams call is coming in, that noise that it makes, that will haunt me.
Triggers me.
The remainder of my day.
Blood pressure.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah, seems good.
outstanding.
Next item on new business, engineering standards revisions.
Okay, that's another share.
It's been going on for a while.
Right, sometime. No rolled curves. That'd be the question I ask people. Do you like rolled curves? If so, you're out. All my triggers. I'm just gonna put all my triggers in the.
Yeah, I have a neighborhood.
Yeah, I actually kind of do like,
Yeah.
Somebody check on that.
yeah, I have a sidewalk, goes up to a sidewalk, and it's an area that's, I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac, so. But when I first saw them, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see the downside.
This document is in three parts. Part one is the round one revisions, which were adopted by city council on April 16th. 30 days have passed, so these are in force. I'm not gonna go through all these individually, but we got
Yeah.
a bunch of some basic stuff, including, I think the most beneficial was a lot of changes to the foot standards, help make those things more reliable. So round two is what we're working on now. And you might recall that we divided our revisions. The source of the revisions was we did a comprehensive review of engineering standards through the lens of the ATMP to figure out where we have opportunities to change, where we should change things to be more in compliance with the ATMP, i.e. Better accommodation of walking and biking. And we divided them into the things that were easiest, kind of medium, and then the things that required a lot more study or work or engagement with the community. So we did, round one is done. Now we're into round three, which was kind of that medium level. So these are things that we think could be done relatively expediently, but we need more conversation either with the community or internally at staff or just more information about them. So let's take just a moment and go through these. One is bicycle detection and language in the code to make sure that when new traffic signals are put in, that they include the capacity for bicycle detection. I think kind of a corollary to that is like, can we have all of our existing signals be done so they have
Right.
bicycle detection? There may be technical issues with this, which is why it didn't get included the first time, but we're going to work through those. The second is a kind of a general category of curb ramps and ped signals. And really, this is just making sure that anything that we have in the engineering standards is in compliance with PROWAG. PROWAG being the Public Rights of Way Accessibility Guidelines. They're federal standards. They're not rules. They're not enforceable standards, but they're guidelines. And we're particularly interested in the curb ramps and where push buttons are located as part of that. And there may be already enough, MUTCD has already adopted kind of new standards for that based on PROWAG. So we may be covered already. We may not have to do anything at the city level, but we want to find out. There's a few types of easements that we want to make sure that we have included in subdivisions. Probably the most significant one is a public access, which is something that, like a connection between two neighborhoods, for example, wouldn't be something that the city maintains. It would be a private thing, but we want to make sure that the public has access to those, if they're not gated or whatever. Longitudinal saw cuts in bike lanes. A lot of times when utilities are trenched in, they'll put a saw cut on the middle of the bike lane. Yeah, and that opens up over time and can be dangerous. Another general one is rapid flashing beacons. So this is the flashing amber light at crossings. We have our standards right now address what the signal pole looks like, how its base is anchored to the concrete, that sort of thing. And we thought there was an opportunity to look more at how the crossing works, what's the geometry, what does the island in the middle look like? How do we address if you push the button twice or you only have to push it once? All of our favorite issues with those crossings. Third is a detail for right turn lanes. And what the current detail shows is a right turn lane goes into a driveway and there's kind of a little, almost an acceleration lane on the other side of the driveway, which for pedestrians crossing or bikes in a bike lane, giving a car kind of a shortcut across an intersection may increase their speed. Next one is rolled curb, which we had originally was proposed to be included in the first round. It got pulled out because there's a lot of discussion. And we didn't eliminate the discussion of it altogether. We just kind of kicked the can down the road. So now we get to have that discussion. There's There's a general interest, I think in the third set of revisions includes looking at our street cross sections comprehensively. Everything from lane width to turn lanes to how wide are sidewalks and parkways and things like that. But we thought there might be an opportunity to do some things that were more readily done or simple or universally accepted. So they include reducing lane widths from 12 to 11. This came up, I think unfortunately, but it was included, decreasing sidewalk and parkway width from 5 feet to 4 feet in our residential areas. It used to be, until about 2000, it was 4 feet. We moved it to 5 feet. This is purely a cost of development issue.
This is a really heavy use sidewalk.
Where two people need to go side by side.
Yeah, it's,
At the same time, we're thinking of increasing sidewalk width on major collectors from 5 to 6
that's
feet.
where it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Increase bicycle lane width from 4 feet to 6 feet on rural roads, because there's no curb on rural roads and the edge of the asphalt tends to be kind of unsteady or may degrade over time. So you lose part of that width. And the last one is just a simple turnout detail where there's a gravel road that connects to a city street. And the turnout detail would include a section of pavement to keep gravel from dragging out onto the street, and sidewalk and bike lane. So those are generally it. I mean, really the point of this agenda item was just to let you know we're starting that process. So we're trying to systematically pick these things off and, do whatever. You can see in the last thing, we've made kind of a formal collection of steps that are consistent. So one is just we just need to review what's in the engineering standards now and write up something new. Two is we need more research from other places. What's the state of the practice? Three is internal discussion. And then four is preliminary discussion at the committees or commissions that are involved. And typically that's PAC, TC, inclusion and adaptive living. In all those cases, there would be, once the draft is prepared, there would be a subsequent round of review that would go to all those committees as a matter of that's part of the process. But this idea here is to give you an opportunity to talk about it before that happens.
Or it's a yes, no.
So 4-foot sidewalks, for example, we should talk about before.
Yeah. That's
Before it's that far, right? Like our input should be considered before drafting anything up. This also includes the Route 3 revisions, and I won't go through these, but these are the more significant ones. I mean, these are significant enough that we may need help from a consultant, for example. And as it happens, later on the agenda, I'll tell you about a grant that MetroPlan got that may provide funding to hire a consultant to do some of these things. Yeah. I will tell you that city management and the council, even through the process of adopting the first round of revisions, was very interested in what becomes of the second round of revisions. So within a few days of the first round being adopted, we were getting asked questions about what's the process for the second round, because they're keenly interested in having those changes made to support implementation of the ATMP, basically. And they want to make sure that it's moving forward.
Makes sense.
That it doesn't, like sometimes, you get through the first round and then you've got this ambiguously defined second round of changes that never happen. Like the schedule, we never get the time, then they're never done. So they want to make sure, I think, in part, that we pursue them, get them done. That's all I know about that.
Great. Seems good. How about master plans and standards?
But your world?
Makes me happy. Yeah, well, I've seen what happens when you don't have them and
Yeah.
then you get money and somebody's like built that thing and then they just do it. And then it's like, oh, we didn't standardize these doorknobs and they don't, now when our locksmiths can't maintain them or something, something stupid, but you can replace them all.
It's an inch too wide.
Yeah, it's just like, it's super boring, but it's important,
If you ever want to come and work for us, just like.
It was a lot of,
Well, Ron, your evening gets better and better as another master plan is the next item on the agenda.
like that.
What's master plan?
This is kind of a placeholder. I think we'll work on this eventually, but I don't have new information. We have an outline developed at least.
Okay.
And a lot of information is written already. So it needs to be pulled together. Have a kind of a public process outlined for it. And then get it adopted. And there's a Foots master plan, for example, that was adopted as part of the ATMP. And that's subsequently adopted in the regional plan.
Yeah.
So we have a document that shows us where all the planned Foots trails are. So we have that good cover that way. This would be more to, set up guidelines and kind of expectations and policies related to Foots. And I'll give you an example where that would be useful. We don't really have any clear standards or guidelines for how access trails should be built or where they should be located. This is where a development is adjacent to a Foots trail, but the people who live in that development or the future residents or whatever should have access.
Right.
And right now we have one requirement in the zoning code that access be provided, but nothing that tells us
Like,
how often. I mean, which is important.
No, I know. I'm
That's
just
they've got
imagining
bacon all over the place.
Patients of access.
Well, we could do an inventory. It's everything.
Yeah.
Like it's literally,
some are really nice and some are probably really.
some look
Breaking
like,
the fence.
some look like this.
Yeah.
Get access.
You said access.
Got it.
So a few details like that, and then have that as part of a formal document is the idea. So that will come back up. We will get to that one.
Moving on to reports.
A couple things. I mentioned a grant. So MetroPlan was awarded in the time since we met a grant through the Safe Streets for All program. This is to do a streets master plan. And then we have a whole list of things that we could potentially cover in such a plan. The city is providing $500,000 for a match, and the grant from the federal government is $2.1 million. So not a small one. It's $2.6 million total just for planning. Do we just to go through kind of bullet by bullet?
Yeah.
Okay. Flagstaff walks I included. You may recall that MetroPlan submitted a grant through ARP to do like branding and some planning for Flagstaff walks. They did not get that grant.
Okay.
So they've reached out to us to find out like kind of what we think is the future, and they specifically asked like what's the level of interest with the pedestrian advisory committee doing such a thing. And we typically, I think we've talked about this before. They had thought about maybe doing kind of a month-long set of activities like Bike to Work Week is now Bike Month. I think the general lesson from that is doing it over a month makes you really, really busy for a month. It doesn't like spread things out.
Right.
It feels like it's less.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interest in just doing it for a week. We could talk about what events we might have. I know we've had conversations before. Some of our more successful things have been like, just recreational walks, like we used to start at the community market and then have like a geology walk. And so
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's some interest component like the historical or geology.
yeah, we'd find people who were experts who
Right.
did those walks. There was like a public art walk. There's a Southside history walk. And it would get probably 20 or 30 people that would come out and do that. Yeah. We've tried to do things that were more like educational, like walkability audits. Those are harder to get people
Then with more
engaged.
action items, yeah, you're right. more stuff to do.
Yeah, do you want to come out and learn something
Yeah,
on a Saturday
we
morning?
used to do one of those, yeah. No. We used to give free pizza away, so we would get students to show up. We'd do a safety walk at night.
Yeah.
And nobody'd show up. And then one professor said, you gotta go, you get extra credit. And then we offered pizza, we get like 60 people.
That's a good point, because I think,
Yeah, it was, they came for the food and the credit, like the professors, you know, maybe.
and over Bike to Work Month or Bike Month, I think that the most successful day that I saw was when you could go and get breakfast at a.
Yeah,
I've
those days.
never seen so many people riding bikes.
Free food, big motivator.
I would go on a walk if they had one of those like specialists from Marin County, California, saying how to make your area more fireproof. I feel like I'm with all the homeowners insurance things, that's something I would love to just walk around town, but I suspect that wouldn't, we probably don't have the experts to do that. But if I was gonna learn something, that would be it.
Which is kind of tangential to walking, but
It
it's
is,
just an
but I feel like,
example of what people would come
Get
up
you out.
with.
yeah,
Yeah.
also it's geology. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, Yeah.
Some years ago, we taught a class at NAU on doing a walkability audit. And it was 1 credit and it was 1 weekend, like 2 full days, like all day Saturday, we had like classroom stuff. And then Sunday we went out and actually walked around Woodlands Village and did a walkability audit. And the class was packed. There were like 40 people in there. And at the beginning, we went around and said, like, what's your interest in, walkability? Like, why'd you sign up for the class? And like 3 people were interested in walkability, 37 were getting 1 credit hour.
Okay, they're like- And very efficient, the business majors were like.
Yeah, they can get a credit hour in 1 week and then, oh, this camp, this.
Yeah, you see what motivates students, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it now. Yeah. Gets them interested, exposes them to it.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that, they learned something about walkability.
Right,
They
they-
didn't know before. Okay, so we can reach back, reconnect with MetroPlan and find out like what might be possible, what we could plan, but it seems like maybe keep it light. It doesn't have to be,
I think
it
it
can be as
starts
much as we
small.
want.
Yeah, start small and if it's great, build on it. Don't go into ambitious. Yeah, bike month was a lot.
Okay, we'll keep that one on the radar. Next point is the Flagstaff Regional Plan. The Regional Plan Committee met last night and discussed the transportation chapter. And I think I sent you
Got that.
resources. Yeah, you're more than welcome to participate. I think at some point they'll come to the committee for a presentation and discussion, but you're more than welcome to participate as individuals who live in Flagstaff. The discussion last night was interesting, kind of all over the map. Lots of support as there typically is for enhancing walking and biking. They had a lot of discussion about congestion and congestion relief and the role that roads play in that, either positively or negatively. And not really a consensus. That I think their kind of direction to staff was to go back and kind of rewrite the chapter in a more kind of visionary and higher level. There's a lot of stuff included in the draft. It kind of covers a wide range of topics. We literally took some stuff out of the active transportation master plan, for example, and put it in the regional plan and got called out for that. That there's some information that was in there that was verbatim taken out of the ATMP. I know who did that.
Maybe it's good.
But the question was, if it's already in the ATMP, why does it need to be repeated verbatim in the
Right.
regional plan? Like what?
Well, the HCMP's under it, so it would roll up into it. So maybe just,
Exactly, yeah.
maybe just an outline,
Yes, yeah, I think that's what they were kind of
Yeah.
after, like the original.
less detail.
Less detail, more of an
ATMP
outline.
for that.
Yeah. And then there was also discussion about kind of the dichotomy between the city approving a transportation tax in 2018 that was largely sold on building new roads and congestion relief. I think there's more nuance to it than that. I think it was largely sold, like at least half of it was sold on ped and bike improvements. Like that was sort of
Why?
the thing.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Like we have this tax that raises money to build roads to relieve congestion. And since then, we've adopted as a city, the carbon neutrality plan and the ATMP, which really asks us to go in a different direction when we think about about transportation and how we even think about congestion, that the secret to congestion is providing people with options, not building more roads or wider roads. And so that question came up, like, how do we resolve that dichotomy? I think that, because on the one hand, the 2018 was a vote of the citizens, but the carbon neutrality plan and the ATMP, and even the housing plan has a lot of information about transportation, or some were all voted as documents by the council. All three of those are in line with the general themes in the regional plan from before, which was supportive of walking and biking and providing people with options. So I'm not really sure that at a policy level there is a dichotomy, but it probably needs to be discussed, and whatever the vision is of the city, whatever policy direction we want, should be clear in that document. That's kind of where it is.
You can see there'd be some
There'll be more.
pushback, yeah.
Yeah. Keep going. Last week, the Bike Advisory Committee asked us to look at do a comparison of the city's regulations for e-bikes, bikes, and other scooters and micromobility compared to NAU's draft. And so we started to do that. I included links to NAU's, both existing and draft. I didn't include a link to the cities. Do you want to kind of look at it at a similar comparison, or do you want me to? I can provide that comparison to you when we have it.
Let us see it, yeah. Be happy if they just followed the traffic rules. I saw somebody in.
Yeah.
Going the other way and the separated bike lane thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care that they're riding an electric bike, but at least follow the traffic rules, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes like for half a block, that's very convenient.
Yeah, well, the students especially do
Yeah.
that, yeah, they especially at the beginning of the semester, they're, yeah.
Sometimes if you're like here on Butler and you want to get to here, like the idea of crossing to do that and
Not
then
as
crossing
efficient,
again,
yeah.
is,
The future leaders are like, okay, but.
right. And I think part of the interest is that if we match as closely as possible, there isn't confusion with, like, if you're riding an e-scooter, for example, when you're on campus, that regulations are entirely different than when you're in the city, you're on campus. Keep going. Urban Trails and Bikeways map is getting reprinted. I'll include a link to the new one as soon as, it should be not too much longer, maybe a week. Fremont slow streets.
Oh, that's the paper.
Yeah, do you want to see a quick video?
Yeah, that'd be great.
This. Oh. Did we do this last time? Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no worries.
I think this was a neighborhood kid who came out like toward the end of the day when it was being painted, so it's not like professional drone footage. But you can see the road was reduced from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. Like here, a crossing was put in to get over to the
Yeah.
park.
Candlesticks,
Yeah,
plenty of them,
people, yeah. How many?
64.
How many people are go and try to start hitting those?
So it goes all the way up past the
Good.
townhouses. Yeah. So we're gonna do some, follow-up evaluation like of speeds and a few other things. I don't know, what else is, do you know what else is planned as part of that?
I think we're gonna watch Back to the Future right now. You're talking about the next phases of the Fremont project?
No, like the, post-evaluation.
Oh, well, just conducting a speed study. We wanted to ensure that a month, well, basically 30 days passed between the completion of the project, so that drivers in the area had time to adjust and maybe not, like in the first week, maybe they're driving significantly slower, but as they become used to it, they go back into their normal habits. And it was completed on May 18th. That was the last day of painting, so that's June 13th now, so it'll be coming up pretty soon, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. I think that there's gonna be, I think that the biggest improvement was made near the park, especially improving that crossing and taking 2 travel lanes out of the equation as you have to navigate it. And yeah, so we'll see. There's the vertical deflection of the candlesticks should also provide a feeling of, making you want to slow down. And yeah, it's a good transition towards a more permanent solution that might come down the line.
First mile, last mile, we were currently reviewing our 60% plans. This is a collection of sidewalks, crossings, and bike lanes that are being funded with a grant that Mountain Line received. As part of kind of going through to final design, we are talking about putting a map together and maybe a short public survey just to let people know, just to kind of get the word out about what projects are proposed and where they're located, and to give people a chance to provide any comments if they want to do that. I think, I'm sure are familiar with this project, you've seen it before, but the list of projects that are included has been kind of whittled down as we've gone through the design process. So a couple of them have fallen off. And there's not any one place where a member of the public could look to see where projects are located. So that might be useful for people. They could see, for example, is there a crossing near along their walk to work or whatever, or to the park.
Coming up.
Yeah, or where their sidewalks are missing if they're filled in. So we want to do that as part of the process. And then the last one is, we've advertised for a new multimodal transportation planner position. We have hired someone, they've accepted, and they're starting on June 24th.
Cool.
And his name is Carlton Johnson. He is a former city employee. He worked in comprehensive planning for a few years. He has a kind of an interesting history in that he began his career as a civil engineer. He has a civil engineering degree. Left a private firm, went back to grad school for planning at the University of Colorado, Denver. Came back to Flagstaff and worked for a private planning firm in Flagstaff. And then applied for our position that became available. And we ended up hiring him. And if you look at kind of his career trajectory, I think multimodal transportation is like very firmly where he wants to be.
Interesting. It's good. We're lucky.
Yeah. So he will be here most likely at the July meeting. A chance to meet him. And so there'll be a team of 3 of us now.
Good.
Something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
nice.
That's some money to spend. That's good. Lots of planning.
So clearly expectations for productivity.
Yeah.
We think we can handle it.
Concluding announcements, agenda items for the next meeting. We talked about one, for us to discuss applicants and potentially make recommendations to Transportation Commission. Any other agenda items that folks are interested in bringing forward?
I won't be here, so.
Just calling from the back of your van with the beach behind you,
On
Ron.
my bike somewhere.
TBD.
Yeah. Heading east.
Well, if you get a chance, take a look at any of the applications
Yeah.
and you want to,
I can email. or-
yeah, if you want to make
Yeah,
any
just
comments
say-
for us to be able to bring forward, that'd be great. And then on that, that concludes the agenda, and I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 17:55. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
So.
Little rain today. Sent it down. Not a lot, not enough.
It was cloudy, yeah, 40% chance tonight.
No lightning. It seems like it's all just coming in from.
It's like a big thing.
If it were to rain,
Yeah.
it would be the
Life
big
would
one,
be-
yes.
Lightning would probably.
I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of,
Lightning nugget, yeah.
with the city too, like with fire restrictions. Monsoons are coming up. That changes things considerably.
Not saying it's not coming.
That's not.
It's
It may rain tonight, it may rain today.
It's just
It's
that-
2 different things.
Yeah,
It's actually pushing the high out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like,
weather service backed way off the
Yeah.
monsoon predictions last week.
Okay, so never mind.
Yeah,
those guys.
Everything is as it was.
Yeah.
Go back to being worried.
About to get.
yeah, no, it's, I remain a constant state of worry at this time of year.
Here's the wind blowing my, one of my vents. I'm like.
It's kind of, I mean, for you especially, it's kind of like. So,
Yeah.
the time when it gets really hot, you know, when it start and people are in the forest.
Feel like the Forest Service fire person knows, I've only called a couple of times this year, but it's like, one of them was the Flagstaff Fire Department, because I'm on the email list for Coconino, and that's why I'm checking and I get all of those, and then when Bravo came up, and I was talking to the forest person, they're like, I don't know, we don't have anything going on, and they pulled up the Mount Eldon camera, and whoa,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gotta be really unfun for those people.
Yes. Yeah, well,
They haven't come out with any reasoning behind that Bravo fire yet, have they? Any,
they have not, they're,
people are waiting.
they have their own, yeah. It's Department of Defense and
Yeah,
all that. And we'll see what they say. There's no lightning,
No, there wasn't.
whether or not someone wants to tell you there was lightning, there was
There's
none.
no.
There's no more munitions on there to worry about.
Yeah.
But there still
Oh,
are.
there's loads.
Oh.
They don't even know what they have out there.
Really?
Yeah.
You sound so cheerful when you say that.
So, well, I mean, we were out there for a few days and one point, so part of their safety briefing for us literally was, if you hear an explosion, go the other way. Word for word, that's what they told us. And then we got into a discussion of the color smoke that you might find. Apparently pink smoke, not that toxic.
Oh.
Yellow or orange, you may already be dead. So, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. They have a no-go zone. That's the really bad area, but we were just everywhere else. We were, it was my first time out there because they don't usually let us up there.
No, they do.
Yeah. Before it got to Ace Mountain.
There's a former ammunition depot, like federal at Camp Navajo
Yeah.
in South Dakota, that was totally decommissioned. And it's all these like half-round concrete bunkers essentially that are like buried into the hill, or into like mounds, and then the mouth of it is kind of open. But somebody bought them privately, and it's like a luxury subdivision for preppers.
Oh, no,
It's, you should look it up. It's like, you can't even believe that this thing is real.
Yeah.
That's just.
There's a place out on the camp that they actually refer to as Chemical Canyon. Next time you're in volunteer watch, look up and think of what might be coming down at you. Yes, All in the name of defense. Thanks for your time this afternoon, Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Been a nice efficient meeting.
Yeah.
Like, kind of consistent.
Yeah. We had the joint meeting and, what was that?
Susan.
She seemed offended. Another time. First year, till 6:30. Like, that's.
Come on, they were like, well,
Yeah. Thanks, Martin. We'll see you.
see you, man.